Once you got onto the music track or right before you really kind of went for it, can you think of a particular record you listened to or maybe that maybe made the light go on in your head and go, "Oh, I didn't know music could be like that," or "I'd love to do that."
So I remember every Christmas, mom and dad would buy me, I remember the Boston record, the first record under the Christmas tree, opening it up and seeing an album. And back then you'd open the album up and you'd see all the pictures of the players. You'd know Brad, the singer, Tom, the guitar player. And every year they would buy us different records all the time. And I think one of the main albums that really changed my life was the first Chicago record when that came out. And I remember the first song, Introduction. And it's kind of like what we did on the Redcoats record, where it's like an introduction to everybody in the band, and this is what we're going to do. And back then you had 10, 12 songs in an album to say everything you want to say. Now music's a lot different because you
And
have one
Chicago's a
song.
big band too. There's a lot of
Yeah.
players. I mean, you got a horn
Yeah.
section, you got, yeah.
Yeah. So in that song, Introduction, they start out with this feel, and you hear the rhythm of the band, and then it goes into completely different sections where they get super sensitive and super rocking. Then you have a trombone solo, you have these horn lines. It's just this cacophony of sound that just goes boom, and you feel like you're on this train and you're going. That's what I like, is bands that take you someplace, from beginning to end, and an album can let you do that. And so I just started listening to so many bands like that. And then when I got a little bit older, I got way into jazz and upright bass and old jazz records and bands like Weather Report. And the greatest thing when we grew up was driving in your car on your AM radio. You'd put it on and everything was on there. You'd have Carole King, you'd have James Taylor, you'd have Rush, you'd have all these bands on the same radio station, where there wasn't like division of sounds, like there is now. Like, this is this station. So you didn't have a choice. It just kind of crashed on you. And what a time to grow up. And Detroit was a great place to grow up because there was 5 miles from my house was Motown, the building where they did all the songs from. And then there's these jazz clubs and then the rock scene. And then when I went away to college, there's a whole other world, and everything just opens up.
Moving forward a bit, I think one of the seminal moments in your career is when you were brought on to replace Billy Sheehan in David Lee Roth Band. What chain of events led to that gig? And did you feel like you were ready when you got that call? Because earlier you had mentioned you weren't sure you were ready about other things. Did you feel you were up to the
I'm
task
not
on that?
sure. I'm not sure I'm ready to even change my shorts anymore. I mean, it's just kind of like you wake up and you just go, "Thank God I'm still here." Um, After I got to college and everything, and I moved to New York for a little bit, then I moved back to LA. Just started playing in a lot of different bands and stuff like that. I was playing a lot of top 40 in LA, which was great because I was playing at Disneyland 5 days a week, playing cover 7 nights a week, just absorbed in music and original bands and jazz bands. And I was out on the road with Sheena Easton, playing with her and some different. And I had my own band, A440, and we were opening up for Aha and just different bands. And I remember Greg got the gig with Dave, and he was doing great. And I remember writing songs, and sometimes Greg would play them for Dave. They did one of the songs, Knuckle Bones, on one of the records. So Dave kind of knew who I was. And I guess stuff was going on with Billy and Dave and the band, or whatever was happening. Still don't really know to this day. It was kind of a thing going on, and they just kind of called me and just said, "Can you come out and do this tour, and be in the band?" And then Billy left, and then I just remember showing up for doing the Just Like Paradise video, just kind of going, "Wow." It was like we were talking about earlier. It's like, when things happen, you can't just go, "Well, it's going to go like this. It's going to take this time." And like life just happens. Like John Lennon said, that life is what happens when you're busy making plans, right? Isn't
Hmm.
that what Lennon said? So it just kind of got thrust on me. And I didn't even have time to really react to go, "Yeah, I want to do this," or "Yeah, it would be good." Because at that time I was younger and, a little bit lost about what I wanted to do. So it just kind of happened, and I was grateful for it. I kind of realized about a year in that it really wasn't where my heart was. And I loved Dave and the band, and it was being with my brother and Steve I and Tuggle and all the guys. It was an amazing thing. But I was kind of going halfway through going, well, I'm not really a metal guy. And, not that you had to be a metal guy to play with Dave, but I was kind of a little bit in a different place in my mind. I didn't really know, like even now at 63, I know exactly what I don't want to do. The problem is what exactly I want to do, What is it exactly? So I was kind of just half in, half out. So I was there for about 3 years. We toured, we played, and it was amazing. And it was an amazing situation. And it led to a lot of other things. But after about halfway through, I was kind of realizing, okay, I'm probably not going to be here super long. And then I left in like 91. And it was an amazing experience. I mean, it's one of those things that you just kind of, it's like when I got the gig with Elton, all of a sudden you're going from a bus tour to a private plane and everybody's kissing your butt because they think you're so much better because you're doing this gig, when in reality, the smokescreen is nothing's changed. It's just for this amount of time you're playing with a band that's a little higher up the chain. It's all the same thing. So it was kind of a weird time because it just happened real fast.
Looking back, is there a moment from those years playing with David Lee Roth and touring and recording that has kind of stuck with you all these years?
Well, there's a lot of things. I mean, Dave taught me a lot about entertaining a crowd. And I mean, there was a couple stories. When I was out with Maynard, I remember one time we played at Cincinnati Riverfront Stadium one time, and there was like 30,000 people there watching this jazz festival, and we were playing. And we got a taste of the highs of that. And we get in the bus. We're driving 8 hours to some city in Colorado, and the gig's almost snowed out. And there's nobody could get to the gig. There's probably 20, 30 people there. And we're thinking, we're going to cancel, but we go, no, we're going to play the show. And Maynard saw us backstage kind of a little bit rock starred out from the night before, kind of going like, oh man, why are we even playing? And he took us in the back and said, all right, you guys, I know what you're thinking, because he's been through this thing his whole life. He goes, I want to go out tonight and give the best show we've ever given to these 30 people. And we went out there and we killed it. And it was an amazing night. Probably played better. Everybody probably played better than they ever did. And we all went back on the bus going, okay, lesson learned. That's the way Dave is, man. Dave is just like every night, boom, just give it everything. And he puts his life on the line, hanging from things and going out on and you see that and you go, and the same thing with Elton, when Elton does it every night, he goes out there and just gives it everything. And you go, well, if he's doing it, I got to do it, and you just watch that and you're around that, and Dave's very physical and he's whipping things around. I mean, I would have to watch out for, flying objects from him because he's whipping these crazy things around. And I remember my first gig I had with Dave, because I was kind of going, it's really hard to take Billy Sheehan's place because he's like the godfather of the bass, and he's a good friend and I love the guy. And I'm going, it just feels weird taking his place under whatever circumstance it was. So I was going, okay, here we go. Doing the first gig. And I remember the first song, the lights come down and I'm kind of feeling this anxiety in my stomach. I'm going, okay, here we go. How's the crowd going to react to this? And we play the first song and we're rocking out like this. And I look out in the crowd and I see this nunchuck, this Chinese nunchuck flying right at my head. And it goes, boom, and it gets right into my bass strap. It hits right here and it's dug in. Like, I mean, the thing would have killed me. It was like going like this, wobbling like this. And I took it out, put it on the ground, and I go, God, please let that never happen again. And it never happened again. But I'm just thinking, these things happen, it's life. But I'll never forget that nunchuck. And I mean, I just always have respected Dave for his go-gettedness and his professionalism and wanting to make everybody happy. It's like Garth Brooks doing a sound check and going way to the top, going, what does it sound like in that seat? For some guy that's, paid half price for his ticket because he can't afford it. It's being able to care about everybody that's hearing you.